Welcome, everybody, to the show. Joining us is our co-host and fellow traveler, Dan, the Dan Noodles Man, the Hervé Villachez of Wargaming. Dan, how's it going?
Hey, it's going, Ardy. How's it going with you?
It's going. It's going. What can I say? We're here tonight to talk about social wargaming. We can explore that as a topic for all of 2 minutes before we careen off into a completely different direction. So,
what?
What?
We don't do that.
Yeah, we do. Right. But that's okay, right? That is okay. But we're going to have, a guest on next week. Let me put it that way. And it won't be just Dan and I. But the chat, let us know if my volume versus Dan's volume is okay. I feel like I might need to pull this away a little bit more. I came back. I think I got the cold from my wife once I got back, actually, from San Diego. And it's just a cold. So I know it's not COVID because I'm an expert now. I could tell if it was COVID. Anyway, it was good convention. A lot of fun.
I've discontinued my, what the hell is this app called?
Twitter?
No, this here that we're talking on. What the hell is it
StreamYard?
called? Yes,
they raised the prices again.
They're crazy, man. $400 US. Like, get the hell out of here. And so, anyways, I can't do anything.
Oh, well, I'll take care of it tonight, so don't worry about it. So it's all good. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. So social war, this actually raises an interesting question. And I've seen this happen where people will be at a convention, sitting at a table by themselves playing a solitaire game.
Well, it works. Look, man, it's like.
Well, hey, if that's somebody's idea of a good time, more power to them. Don't get me wrong. But StreamYard does a lot that we StreamYard users may in fact take for granted. It does some automatic filtering of the sound quality, for example, and frankly, it sounds better than OBS. I need to work on that just in case I need to make a different plan. I'm just curious about the thought process that goes into going to a convention and playing a solitaire game, right? Because I've seen this at Origins where there's literally 10,000 people in the room, and you're playing the Hunters here. Now, the Hunters is fabulous. Don't get me wrong, but this would not be the same kind of experience, Meandering Mike. This would be a fucking spectacle that would end up on YouTube. If I were there to film it, that would end up on YouTube.
I think Stigler might actually get angry.
He might. He's a big teddy bear. Don't let anybody kill you.
Man.
So, there are people. You know what? There are very few people for whom this is true. We've got, let's say, a couple of, well-known individuals somewhere in Ohio that a lot of folks who have played with them don't want to play games with them anymore, but they managed to find people to play, right? So, it's not that hard, even if you're a completely disagreeable fuckface.
Why would you not want to play with these people?
In this case, the individual I'm thinking of in particular at the moment is just very volatile. And he's been known to stand up and slam chairs to the ground and, start screaming at people and that kind of thing. And I don't have the patience to deal with that kind of bullshit.
That's uncalled for. That's immature.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly. He may have been off his medication at the time. I don't know what the details are, but I'm happy to say hello to him and say, hey, how you doing? Have a nice day. But I'm not mad at the dude. I just don't want to play games with him because I know he does that.
Wow.
So, but there's people that play with him, right? So, you really got to work hard to be so disagreeable that no one will play with you.
Actually, I was talking to an 18-year-old kid today at the where I work, and this kid kept saying, "No, man, I'm a delinquent. I said, anyways, there was a connection to the story.
Okay. Well, but somebody this is a gentleman that's probably a few years older than me.
Are you
So
kidding?
physical immaturity is not the problem. You've been to wargaming events. How many 18-year-olds you think are in the room? Usually
Not
not
many.
very many.
That's right.
Usually not very many.
You know what? I've been to a couple of stacks and in Montreal Stack Academy, and I've seen loud people enjoying themselves.
Oh,
Being a
I'm
little
loud.
bit,
I'm not talking about
yeah,
loud.
but I'm talking loud, man. Being disturbing a little bit, but it's a place you let go a little bit like that, but you don't bang a table.
No, or slam a chair to the ground, where you like
Nah.
bat the chair and it falls over flat to the floor and making a big
Take
noise.
the chair, smash it over his head.
Well,
That's
if I
how
wanted to
mature
participate in pro wrestling, I could do that, but I don't. And also, people in the kind of condition of pro wrestlers don't often make appearances at wargaming events either, for that matter. What's the dog's name?
Gracie.
Gracie. Is she a
She's
golden?
17.
Wow. Is she a golden retriever?
There's a mix there.
Okay. Mixed breed dogs tend to live longer than pure breed dogs. Golden retrievers have a lot of health problems.
She's so sweet, this dog. And
Well, if
she's having a bit of hip problems.
She's part golden retriever. Well, 17 years old. That's like 110 in human years.
Yeah.
So, I think this is up now. Yeah, I think so. There's like a lot of stuff going on right now in terms of sales and new announcements and new releases and stuff like that. So,
hey, whatever happened to that guy there, that really right-wing guy who was a Hall of Famer, ASL guy?
Kurt Schilling?
Yeah. Well, whatever happened to that guy?
He's still around. I mean, he's participating at some level in what they're doing.
Is he too radical to have on?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, because someone's going to ask him a question that's going to poke the bear, and he's just going to lose it.
Yeah, so he is one of the three, to my understanding, equal partners in Multiman Publishing. But for quite a long time, he kept his distance and was not directly involved in any way. And nobody said anything about this, but there are signs, as Bill here is hinting at, that he has become involved again, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right?
No, not at all.
Although, speaking of 38 Studios, what a shit show that was. So, I think there's reasons to question his business acumen. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Look at SG says, "Oh, wrong politics not welcome." No, that's not what I was saying.
So here's the thing. The thing is that I don't think anybody tunes into shows like this to talk about politics. If you want to do that, there are plenty of places to go do that. Of course. So it isn't a wrong politics, right politics. I don't talk about my politics on these shows either. So it's not like a rule because we don't want to hear opposing views. It's a show principle because I don't think that's why people are here. So
did you just fucking fart?
I totally did. Yes.
Okay.
I had beans.
And the reason why I said right wing is because he is.
Okay. I mean, I don't really care about that, to be honest. But he would be a divisive individual. And I don't think we could get him anyway, to be fair. So I think it's kind of a moot point.
Someone in the chat might say something to throw him off. That's what I was saying.
Well, that could happen, but some of our guests don't even know there is a chat unless we put the comment up. ID Jester, thanks for stopping by.
ID Jester? What the hell?
ID Jester is here. Nice to see you. So,
hey, get me my screenshot. Maybe you can make a video, you know what I'm saying? And send it to me before, like maybe Friday morning. God, Kurt, what the hey, man?
So anyway, but let's move along. So Timon, I can see you here. I don't know about that. Yeah, I can see two people on Twitch. You're presumably one of them. So, but your comments won't show up in the YouTube chat unless we put them on screen. That's the thing. That's why I run the ticker on the Monday show when it works. It has been somewhat flaky lately, and I probably should research a different solution, but I have not had anything resembling the time to do that.
Hey, you know
So,
what, Ardy, I've mentioned this guy before. James Day, Mike Day, the guy who did Panzer.
James Day.
How come we haven't had that guy on?
I don't know. I'd be happy to talk to him.
I mean, this guy goes way back.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the Panzer originally came out from Yaquinto, you know.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. I'm gonna drop this topic. So I have met Kurt at a Oktoberfest like 20 years ago or something like that, and he was fine, right? The thing is, I don't think Kurt is best known as a guy that's into wargaming now. I think he's best known as a guy with political opinions that a lot of people don't like, and there's no reason for us to have a person like that on the show. So, in any case, moving on from that, I mean, obviously, war games are, and every history book is in fact political. War is an extension of politics, right? So, I don't need to know about any individual in gaming's politics. And there are individuals with whom, let's say, I am not on the same political page with, and yet I would be delighted to have them on because they are, people who are active participants in the hobby at whatever level, and who are nice people, even if I think they're off, barking up the wrong tree for one reason or another.
You guys take politics all the way down to your gonads,
Well, we're Americans. What can I say? So, yeah. And then that went to Excalibur, I think. And then now it's with GMT. And I understand there's been some degree of evolution in the system since the original, but
you know what? That's actually an easy game to play if you're going to just do the beginner. Excuse me.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Everything else is modular.
But yeah, and which is very nice. But I think the reason why people would get into Panzer in the first place, as opposed to playing Panzer Blitz or any number of later options that are available, is because they want the extra tank crunch.
Yeah.
And then you're going to want the advanced rules. But you can certainly just get started with the basic stuff. That's no problem.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And if I tell you,
look, I cannot control what people's little icons look like, man. I'm not trying to police that either. Unless you do something truly asinine, and then you might get put in timeout like a 40-year-old. But
I like that Panzer truck.
The Excalibur he developed the miniatures rule set prior. Okay. I don't really have anything like an opinion on Excalibur games. I think I have one of their products, and I think it's fine, but I haven't really looked at it very closely yet. It is, by the way, the Ancient World set, the boxed set of the 4 individual S&T games, which somehow got to Excalibur instead of Decision. But I bought it from Decision, so I don't know what the thing is. Well, yeah, I mean, you could, and some people would. I don't know that I'd necessarily agree that it is the anti-ASL in this regard. A lot of people feel like ASL does not handle armor particularly well, but it handles infantry great, and those people who really want the tank action should have a look at Panzer. And it's got a fair amount of support for it at this point, too, so. And I think anybody seriously into Panzer is going to land with the advanced version sooner rather than later, to be honest. I think the same thing is true of the Mitch Land Next War games, by the way. I think the heart of that game lies in the advanced rules, specifically in the air naval stuff. But
of course, but I mean, what Garrison is saying there, obviously you can't compare it. I've never played the advanced rules, whatever, but it's modular, so you pick and choose, so...
Oh, yeah, you can. If you could find your own preferred level of detail, and off you go. Yeah, that worked completely fine. So, it is, as Perfidious Albion's mentioning here, it's not like there's a lot more detail in the armor system, let me put it that way. The infantry stuff should be pretty easy, right?
You're talking about Panzer still, right?
Yeah. Well, since we're still talking about Panzer, and here we go, so...
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out, man. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, but let's say let's say that we were broadcasting right now on a Warhammer 40K channel with 9,000 subscribers. Do you think I could get Henry Cavill to come on the show? Shit, no. So, it's the same type of deal. So, but yeah, no, he's a huge nerd, huge video game nerd, and 40K nerd and all that stuff. So, and I liked Henry Cavill as Superman, for the record. I had issues with the movies, but I liked him.
Weren't you at HistCon just last weekend?
Yeah, pretty much.
Todd McFarlane, did you see him?
I did not see Todd McFarlane.
Okay,
No,
so
I heard like the following morning that Todd McFarlane was there, and I was like, really? Because I knew he was a wargamer. That I knew.
Yeah.
But because somebody, I don't remember who it was. Maybe somebody will remember and put it in the chat. Somebody interviewed him about wargaming.
I know who interviewed him. My favorite Frenchie, Fred Serval.
Was it Fred? Okay.
And when he got him, I was like, how the hell did you get him? He goes, we were friends. Yeah,
so
okay.
I figured if I saw him, I would have recognized him, but hey, the lighting was bad, so maybe that's why. I don't know. I certainly wasn't going in there with a microscope, magnifying glass to see the names on people's badges for the most part. So,
anybody ask you to autograph their chest?
No, and I'm very glad that didn't happen. And if it had, I might have fled, unless it was Charlize Theron, in which case I would have done so. I'm just saying. Anyway, yeah, every so often I'll see, because I'll see like people's really nice models and stuff like that, or on some platform or other, and I'll say, man, that looks cool. I used to play 40K. I could play 40K. And then I look at what the fucking stuff costs. I'm like, no way. No.
And did you paint the miniatures?
I did. Yeah. See, the problem is I paint super slowly. So I'd come up with a model that looked good, but not that good. But it'd take me a month. So I'd have my whole Space Marine army out, and I'd have the 3 of the models would be painted. So...
Oh man!
So, and there's the time. And Nick Karp was at SD HistCon, by the way. Do you recognize that name, Dan?
Mark Herman?
Nick Karp.
Why does that say something?
Because he's been mentioned on the show many times. Nick was the designer of the Victory Games Vietnam, reprinted by GMT, and he designed a few other things for SPI as well. I think Star Trader was one of them, as I recall.
You can't. You can't ask me if I remember. Are you kidding?
Well, you remembered Mark Herman's name.
Mark Herman.
Well, right, exactly. And he's very tall, so he's not that tall. Mark is tall, but he's not that. I had been led to believe that he was literally 7 feet tall. He's like 6'1", something like that. So
everybody's tall.
Yeah. So although we talked. Perfidious Albion mentions about it's just as much about building the models and all that stuff as it is playing the game. But then don't we as, gamers decide to spend our time doing something that's maybe just as noodly, although we tend to be playing the game, right?
You play Vietnam, Ardy?
I've only played some of the smaller scenarios.
But isn't that
big?
A monster game?
In terms of footprint, it's big, but not that big. It's two, as I hope I'm remembering this correctly. I think it's 2 maps and 3 or 4 counter sheets, something like that. But in terms of play time, it's a long game if you're going to play the entire campaign.
Anything Vietnam just scares me, man.
So you read a little taller to me than Mark did, Carl, because I got to meet Carl too at SD HistCon.
Hey, Carl!
So, he is quite tall, and I have the most enormous respect for his choice of facial hair, since it's very similar to my choice of facial hair, which wasn't a choice at all. I had no agency, no decision making power there.
The guy's so tall. He took a picture next to the Muppet on Facebook, the Muppet museum or something like that. He could have played Big Bird or Mr. Snuffleupagus.
Okay.
At least the back end of Mr. Snuffleupagus.
I admit that I haven't thought of Mr. Snuffleupagus in some time. I'll tell you what, I feel like the nicest Star Trek miniatures I've ever seen were the old FASA Star Trek miniatures, the ship miniatures. I don't know if they did people or not. But, oh, there you go. I had forgotten about this. Rescue from the Hive. This is one that sat around at the local game store when I was a teenager for a long time. Young teenager, like 13 to 14, something like that. So, I have never used an airbrush, so. What's that?
I thought you were born the way you are. I can't see you as a little kid.
I was pretty much exactly the same obnoxious little twat that I am now, so. Well, so is Dan. You and Dan, the Hervey Villages of Wargaming.
I got no problems with being short, okay? Because once, I don't even have to bend down to reach the cojones when I have to give you a you-know-what.
That's good. And, I would not have had to build you a game table that was elevated either for you to stand up and play at it. So there's that bonus as well. There's many advantages to being short. You're probably less uncomfortable on an airplane than I am, for example. So...
yeah, if I would take a plane, planes disgust me all of a sudden.
I find air travel in the current paradigm incredibly unpleasant.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I still don't want to put it in my head because didn't you fly with a mask on?
I wore a mask for a total of maybe an hour on both there and back. It gives me a headache to wear it, to be honest. And yeah, that's probably childish, but there you are.
No, I don't think so.
I'm uncomfortable enough. Okay, so sometimes you got to fly, right? If I was to take you could drive, I guess, but that's like adding at least 6 days to the trip there and back, right? Which is not practical for the vast majority of people.
No.
Or you could take the train, but it's faster to drive in, but not that much.
Taking the train, man.
What's that?
It's still as long as driving, taking a train. If not longer.
Well, yeah, but the train doesn't stop so you could sleep. So it's about the same number of hours in transit. But we have a very primitive passenger rail network in this country for economic, to some extent, legitimate economic reasons, such that you'd have to go through Chicago. You could take a train to San Diego. But you basically have to train to L.A. or San Francisco and then take a train down to San Diego from there. So, and in Columbus, there's no train. There is no, you want a train, you go to Cleveland. So, this would be neat. I used to be a fan of the Tamiya model paints until I wasn't anymore.
Me too.
I liked, I still have a couple of jars of their clear gloss coat, whatever they called that I don't know, it might be dried out by now. The trouble is high speed. Well, it's not a pipe dream. The question is whether it is economically viable or not. And it generally, for most of the United States, it isn't, right? You could justify it up and down the West Coast and up and down the East Coast. And that's it. So you'd have to make a better case for funding such a thing than has been made to date. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, we just got one high-speed rail.
Well, it's a very, very friendly high-speed rail because it's Canadian, I'm sure.
Yes.
So. And
if we crash, we're sorry.
Yeah. I don't know what it was called, but it's a very glossy, very clear Tamiya paint that I think I still have a jar of.
Shellac.
Well, it's a brush on, though, not a spray on. So the spray on's way easier to use. So, Andrew, not a bad idea. So, we could probably get Andrew on, actually. I'd love to talk to him about both Stellar Horizons and Fatal Alliances, for that matter.
Yeah, the Compass Games just had him on.
Yeah. So he's clearly willing to do interviews.
It's time now because he wants to pump the game. You know what I mean?
Well, right, because it's I think the Kickstarter's still going right now. I've played like 2 turns of it so far. It's going to be like a slow start, but there's scenarios that will accelerate that start. But I think it does better at that than the first game did. It also plays noticeably faster than the first game. So there's that.
Look at Tony Mammal, man. Black Jack
Shellac. Yes, I believe I'm pretty sure he was Canadian.
I love him.
So in any case, have you played anything lately, Dan?
Yes, and I've forgotten what the hell was it.
Well,
Oh
clearly
man,
it was
I forgot.
amazing.
I forgot. And yes, I have.
I played. You might be interested to hear this. I played uh, Plains Indian Wars at SD HistCon, and I was pretty impressed with it.
Jolt. That's a Paniski game.
John Paniski, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
who picks
You
a
know,
lot of interesting topics.
I met John with Doc Cummings at the time I went to WBC, and I'll tell you something. John is a very, very he's intense,
Okay.
super nice guy, but he's got some life behind those eyes, man.
Well, he's done some stuff with Decision as well. Bleeding Kansas, for example, is one of his. I don't know what else off the top of my head, but and Bleeding Kansas is pretty well regarded, and it is an interesting topic, and I wouldn't mind trying that either. So I've got a couple of these actually. Belmont, for example, that I've got that. That's from that was in Paper Wars. That might have been a new version of an older game. Hearts and Minds. I didn't care for Hearts and Minds, though, I got to tell you. So there's that.
John Paniski did a couple of games that are, I'm not going to say children-based, but like Leaping Lemmings.
Yeah, I think he was like co-designer or developer or something like that on that.
It's like a Mark Herman ribbit.
Yeah. With Rick Young. I've never played Leaping Lemmings. That is not of interest to me, to be honest. It's, some people like it. Good for them. It's not my thing. But, I'm not a teenager anymore either.
There's a hidden war game in there, but I don't know if a person who doesn't like war games and you try to dupe him by playing Leaping Lemons, that he'll make the connection.
Okay. I mean, like I said, have you played Leaping Lemmings?
No, I haven't, but I haven't played it.
Okay. I mean, a lot of folks feel like Root is a war game in disguise too, right?
But then, you know what? That isn't everything then. If you're talking about worker placement, it's supply, isn't it?
Okay. I mean, you can. I think you could. I can't think of an example off the top of my head that that one could use worker placement to simulate supply. That's a possibility.
I've got to take my dog out. She's whining.
Oh boy, there goes Dan.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
I understand. The dog commands. We're at 28 minutes, so we're all good. I have this. I am pretty impressed with what I see of it so far, along with Roads to Stalingrad, which I also have. Those are two pretty impressive looking products from Nuts Publishing. Incidentally, I mentioned, I want to say last night that Nuts has a Kickstarter up right now for, I got to find it, for their Euro War Games book. I'm going to find that and put a link in the chat. I backed this. That is not it. Gosh darn it. Hold on a second. I know it's live because I backed it already. But apparently this is not one of their chosen projects because... All right, let me find it this way. There it is. It's all one word. That's why, even though it isn't on the cover. I'll put this in the chat if anybody wants to check this out. This is about the wargaming scene both now and historically in Europe, and not about Euros that are actually war games. For clarity, I also feel like that this is a thing that we're seeing several of right now. You've got, of course, several years ago we had Zones of Control, which is like an academic book. Which I do have, and which is outstanding. A lot of it's written from the professional side, but not all of it. You've got Maurice Suckling has a book that's relatively new. Jeff Engelstein did a book that I wouldn't call a war game book, but it was like a encyclopedia of game mechanics that was pretty interesting. You've got this new book from Nuts. You've got Mark Herman's book coming out, and all of these sound pretty appealing to me. So... King Philip's War. That is one I have glanced at, but not not played or looked at particularly closely. It's an academic book, so if you're not used to that, yeah, I think this is a fair. I think this statement is pretty fair. It is fairly dry throughout a lot of it. I got to tell you, but I'm kind of used to that, right? I've been reading history for the last 20 years, so longer than that, but I've been reading the more academic history for the last 20 years or so. And there's Roger's book. That's a good point. Which is marvelous, right? That's much less dry. Because that's kind of Roger's personal retrospective and art book. It's a wonderful book. So, we talked about this a couple of years ago about how there really isn't that much in the way of historiography on modern commercial board wargaming, where and we're starting to see some of this start to emerge now. Interestingly, RPGs have been ahead of the curve on this. John Peterson wrote Playing at the World, which is in its second edition now, which is a marvelous and very academic and very rigorous study of the evolution of Dungeons and Dragons. Not RPGs overall, but D&D specifically. It's a really good book. There's a whole bunch of other books. There's Ben Riggs' Slaying the Dragon, which is more about the TSR era under Lorraine Williams. So there's been like a lot of RPG histories that have popped up over the last, say, 10 years. Wargaming isn't going to catch up particularly soon, let me put it that way. Unless Jim Dunnigan's working on something that nobody knows about yet. So I can think of nobody that I would rather hear that from than him. But that is still with us, I suppose. So, but I think Danny is right here too. Is that the generations are getting older, and a lot of people feel like they have to. They're memoirs, right? Roger's book is kind of a memoir, and Mark's book, at least I feel like it's going to be a bit of a memoir. So, to be fair, that one of those D&D biographies, and I'm not sure I remember the Gygax biographies, is an absolute piece of hagiographical garbage. They do not delve into anything that would be considered remotely controversial, even though Gary had plenty of stuff that was controversial, right? They didn't touch on any of that stuff. They didn't touch on the orgies or the drugs or any of that. So the other one I'm not sure I've read. So, I mean, he did live in Hollywood for a while, right? So I don't know about this. I mean, in principle, yeah, I'm theoretically equipped to do something like this, but I couldn't do something like this out of my head. That's crazy. You'd have to do a lot of research. And looking at what John Peterson did with Playing at the World, where he amassed collections of thousands of these amateur zines to comb through and stuff like that. And that's turning it into a 10-year project. And I don't have that kind of time. So,
sorry, man. She had to hang a rat.
It's all right. I haven't. These would be interesting to take a look at, actually. I do have Dunnigan's book, The Complete Wargamer's Handbook, which does have some of that history stuff in it, but not that much. That's not really what the book's about. So,
hey, well, Johnny's in the house.
Whatever Mark would like to do, I'll be happy to hand over some cash for him. So, this might be true, but Mark has had a lot of really fascinating things to say in his C3I articles as well. So there's that.
Oh man, I could listen to Mark talk.
Oh yeah. Well, Mark is very personable, right? Yep. So he's very easy to listen to. So yeah, I think I've got the second edition. I got the one that I had back in the day. Was what the one I rebought, which I believe is the second edition, which contains a whole little war game and everything. It's Drive on Mets. So
yeah, John, I was referring to you. Sorry if I insulted you by calling you Johnny.
So these were, I remember at least a couple of these that they had at the Bookseller. That was the name of the store in Elyria, Ohio. They had a couple of these, and I never picked them up. I have, to be completely honest, I've only played a historical miniatures game once or twice. I've never had. I've had a couple of models, I suppose, but not. I'm not like an army or rules or any of that. So it was not something that I got into. And I certainly have the sense that Featherstone's work in this department is basically about that. So yes, we just mentioned Zones of Control. Actually,
yeah, I was gonna say have you seen that book?
I've got it.
Isn't it like a textbook?
Yes, it's an academic book. It's an academic collection of essays by. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I wanted to know who are. Do I sing now? Sing a song. Make it happy to sing your whole life long. If anybody's good at something.
I would like to apologize to the YouTube community for that disgraceful performance.
Whatever.
So, anyway, all right. John Peterson opens the book with there's like a forward and an introduction and stuff like that, who I just mentioned. John Curry, whose stuff I'm not familiar with. Tetsuya Nakamura, who's a Japanese game designer. Jack Green has one. Lee Brimacombe Wood has one. Mark Mahaffey has one. A. Scott Glancy, who I think is one of the professional guys. Henry Lowood. Matt Caffrey has an article. J.R. Tracy. John Foley, Mark Herman, Ted Racer, Troy Goodfellow, Peter Perla, not surprising at all, the late Peter Perla now, Brian J. Miller, whose name I think a bunch of us might recognize, particularly if you've seen a lot of Compass games, Rachel Simmons, Don R. Gilman, John Tiller, now the late John Tiller, and Catherine Cavarnaro, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, Thomas C. Schelling, Russell Vane, Luke Caldwell, and Tim Lenoir. Larry Bond has one. Laurent Clossier, Andrew Wackerfuss. I hope I'm pronouncing that incorrectly.
I hope so.
And if I'm not, then I apologize deeply to somebody. Miguel Sicart, Soraya Murray, Sharon Gamari Tabrizi. Remember, a lot of these people are in the professional wargaming scene, so you wouldn't necessarily recognize their names if you're not in that. Alexander Galloway, Richard Barbrook, David Leventhal, Brian Conley, Phil Sabin has an article, Robert Citino, Rob McDougall and Lisa Faden, Charlie Vassie has one, Jeremy Antley has one, that's awesome. Alexander Levis and Robert Elder, Rex Brynan, there you go, another one. Elizabeth Bartels, Brian Train and Volko Renke have articles, Ed Beach, Yuna Huang, who I believe I've been in a panel with for connections. Jim Wallman, Esther McCallum Stewart, Bill McDonald, John Prados, now the late John Prados, Steve Cole of Starfleet Battles fame, Ian Sturck and James Wallace, Larry Brom, Jenny Thompson, Patrick Krogan, Michael Peck, Joe Miranda, Greg Kostikian, Kakber Kwiatkowski, I'm butchering that dude's name, I'm sorry, and Mary Flanagan. Those are who wrote the essays. So there's a lot of essays in here. There's a lot of essays in here, and you don't Mike Berticelli's here. Mike, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. You know, hold on, Ardy. I haven't heard Rachel Simmons in a long time, man. I don't think she's not designing anymore now, is she?
I believe the new version of Marengo was supposed to be her final game, I think. Now, I don't have any insight as to why.
And have you ever played any of her games?
No, I would like to try. I don't know that it's a system per se, but they're like Guns of Gettysburg and Triumphant Marengo, and there's Napoleon's Triumph, I think it's called, is Austerlitz, and I would play any of those really. I probably most of those battles I'm most familiar with Gettysburg for reasons I shouldn't need to explain.
So why do her games have this mystique about it?
I do think that at least part of that is that they were all produced in pretty small quantities and are relatively hard to get. I do think that that's a factor. Another factor, however, is they are really, really striking on a table if you've seen them. So there's that. And I think they're probably really well designed. So I've heard of this, but I don't believe I've ever actually seen this book. I have the impression that it's mostly miniatures, but I might be full of it on that too. How would people feel about Wargames coming with actual academic articles included in the documentation?
I'd like that.
That could be potentially interesting. I can think, maybe not Wargames, but I can think of a couple examples where that has happened. Hegemony is the one I'm thinking of right now. There's like a little supplementary book that kind of lays out the economic theory that they used to design the game, which I thought was pretty neat.
RAF has it.
Well, there's a lot of decision products. Those are not academic articles, though. Those are popular articles because they're right out of S&T, right? And that's great that they're in there, and that's fantastic, especially for people who are less familiar with those subjects, which might not necessarily be as straightforward as Normandy. I don't feel like I'm going to get much out of another decision Normandy game in the terms of the history article that comes with it, because I've read a lot of those. But on other topics, that would be, a completely different situation, right? So, okay.
Does Strategy and Tactics have a lot of academic articles?
Strategy and Tactics is not an academic magazine. No.
Okay.
So, and this is true. Last Gamble came with basically it's not, I'd say it's written with an academic slant. I think this is maybe straddling the line a little bit, but yeah, you could say this. Last Gamble has a entire thesis-length historical booklet in it. It's kind of amazing.
Bloody hell.
So one of the reasons why I was as impressed with it as I was. There's also the stuff that Fort Circle has done. I'm thinking of Votes for Women specifically, where it comes with all these artifacts, if you want to say that, like newspaper articles from the period that it depicts and all that stuff. A huge variety of those things. And that's pretty cool.
Like, how big is the booklet, man? How many pages?
It's not a booklet. It's all like individual newspaper clippings and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Look at that. That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we might get something like that with Hunt for Blackbeard, too. Which, or Halls of Montezuma. I'm not sure which is actually next from Fort Circle. It's one of those.
What it reminds me of, remember the old vinyl, thick as a brick?
Yes.
You'd open it up, you'd get the newspaper inside.
Yeah.
It's immersive. It's very good. Fort Circle, very good, very good.
Yeah, yeah. I was just reminded today because I saw a Facebook ad for the Jethro Tull Christmas album, which is on Spotify, and it's I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Oh no.
So I love Jethro Tull, but they're
not original compositions.
No, it is. Yeah, but I don't like Christmas music.
Right.
So, and the Christmas music I do like are the old traditional compositions, and not this, not the whatever Taylor Swift is doing now. I don't know if she's
yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, man. I'm gonna start singing soon, man, because I got Mel in my heart.
I think some of both of these things happen. So Molotov Cocktail says he's curious if military wargaming companies use multiple systems or if they can keep iterating on the same systems. I think they would probably do both, to be honest. But remember, it's a project type environment, right? So if they have a set of tools from a previous project that'll work for the current what they're working on now, they'll use it. Yeah, I think they're aware of that. So. Yeah, I mean, listen for yourself. I'll be happy if somebody is delighted with that material. I was not. So, there's all kind of cool stuff. There's cool stuff in Shores of Tripoli, and we're going to see it in Halls of Montezuma and Blackbeard and Night Witches too. And Night Witches is cool because this is really true of their other stuff too. But a lot of people don't know a lot about that, right? So, Joe Faust likes it.
Hey, Joe
Faust likes it.
Sergeant Joe, what the hey?
So there we go.
Yeah, I haven't heard from Joe Clifford Faust. By the way, he's a progressive music fan. In years, Joe, what the hey, man? Excellent.
I'm a big Tull fan. I've seen Tull live, but
I love Tull.
I didn't like the Christmas music. Sorry. And it could be that I hate Christmas. That's possible. So
yeah, of course, Vince Guaraldi, of course,
yes. Yeah. That's classic stuff. I like that. Classic. So, and Joe is about 20 miles from me, something like that.
Really?
Yeah. So, Yeah. So yeah, it's a really cool topic. If you don't know, there is an RPG about the Night Witches as well. I think by Jason Morningstar and somebody else. And Liz had Jason Morning. I'm not sure when Liz and David picked the topic that they knew that, but they swiftly learned that. And I think Liz had Jason Morningstar on her show to talk about the RPG Night Witches, which I have never played, by the way.
You mentioned Liz's channel, Beyond Solitaire.
Mhm.
She's going to have Ricardo Massini, Jan Heinemann, and Fred Serval.
Yeah, they're going to talk about the Euro Wargames book that I put the link in the chat to earlier in the show, which I have pre-ordered, and it was refreshingly inexpensive compared to several other Kickstarters that I have backed lately.
Really, eh?
So, yeah. No, I have not played Night Witches, but I, observed a game of Night Witches. It's pretty cool.
Hold on, Night Witches, Russian women flying washing machines. What the hell's going on here? Explain, please.
So, all right. So, it is not out yet. It'll probably be out sometime next year, but probably about mid next year. So, the Nachthexen is what the Germans called them, or Night Witches. They were there were a couple of different squadrons of female Soviet fighter pilots that were given the ricketiest planes that the Reds had at the time, and who flew night bombing harassment missions against German lines on the Eastern Front. Those are the Night Witches. It's a really interesting topic. So
that's great.
Hey, I could be a Jehovah's Witness or something for all you know, right? You don't know. I don't talk about that kind of stuff on the show. I'm just being crabby, to be honest. To be fair, Christmas music is annoying. To be fair,
like you said, I can't stand it. But if you're gonna listen to Mel Torme and all that, you had Nelson Riddle doing the arrangements in the back for Frank Sinatra, so it's pretty good.
No, I mean, it's got nothing to do with the talent of the people involved. That's not the problem at all. So Jason W. was a playtester on Night Witches and likes it a lot. Played the entire campaign. Yeah, it's also very easy to play it with two people as a co-op game. So there's that as well. Now, I do like this particular piece of music, the Linus and Lucy. Everybody likes that, right? Anybody with any kind of soul at all likes that piece of music.
Yeah.
If no other reason, because of the Charlie Brown connection.
Very well said.
Jonathan Colton. Hey,
Mike says something there. Yeah, I heard that album.
The Brian Setzer Orchestra Christmas Extravaganza.
Heavy big band. Fantastic.
This could be fun. I don't know. I Christmas music. I tend to like Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and that kind of stuff.
Big band, man. Really, it is. It's fantastic, and I recommend it. Nice going there, Mike.
Well, I like their. I don't like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra either.
No, I don't like them either. Sorry.
So that's just me. It's the kind of thing. Are you aware, Dan, that I'm not sure if there's more now, but they did one album that was not Christmas music.
I vaguely remember something.
And it's pretty good. So, in my opinion.
I don't like that kind of style, man. I don't like that style of writing.
Well, okay, fair enough. That's fine. So, Jonathan Colton did Cryon Beta Prime. I have no idea what that is. The name Jonathan Colton does ring a bell, but the Cryon Beta Prime does not.
Johnny, it's all you get. I don't know what I can do on YouTube anymore.
Who's Johnny?
John C.
Oh, okay.
They've been playing Christmas music since October.
I for some reason, sometime in July or something like that, I went into a Hallmark store. Or I should say, my wife dragged me by the ear into a Hallmark store, and they were playing Christmas music at the time, and they had all the Christmas stuff up, and I'm like,
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've met a lot of Filipino women, and they're extremely religious.
Well, the Spanish were there, and the Spanish were extremely religious too. So. Mr. David Thompson, thanks for stopping by. Speaking of Mr.
Perfect.
Yeah, we were just talking about Night Witches, in fact. Yeah, I had a fantastic time at SDHistCon, and I will definitely come back at some point, and hopefully that means next year, but we'll see. So,
David was there too.
David was there, Liz was there, Mark Herman was there, Eric Lee Smith was there, obviously Harold was there, obviously. Mark Miklos was there in full Revolutionary War garb, tricorn hats and everything. What?
Kai Jensen, was she there?
Kai was there. I hadn't even got to Kai yet. Kai was there. Sam, I want to call him Ben London for some reason, and I'm pretty sure I did that to his face. And I'm sure he didn't say anything, but I'm pretty sure he's like, this guy's an asshole. But I don't know why. It's Sam London. We've had him on the show. Nice guy.
I know.
He was there. I can't leave and list all the people. Alexander and Brant from Players Aid were there with their wives. Justigard was there. Carl, of course, was there, but he was like 10 minutes away. So
it is. It's the Oscars of cons.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, it's an impressive event for the size of event that it is. So
it should be Kai event.
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, then I'm not going. If this actually could have been it, the fact that I was awake for 35 hours might have contributed to my susceptibility to the cold that I got when I came home. So, essentially, this is essentially true. So, and Mike Berticelli was there, and I had a very pleasant conversation with him. Mike, I told you I can't even remember everybody. And you're not in any of my you are in one of my pictures, but it's like just like your hand pointing at something on the Wolfpack map. So
is Mike a California guy?
I'm not sure I asked that question. Mike, where are you at? But Mike's a super nice guy, and Mike was the guy that sold me on Microverse too, actually, and that's a pretty cool game, and I'm definitely going to buy it. So, but now we are actually kind of talking about social wargaming because it's nice to meet people, yes. And I feel like that was a thing that my experience at SDHistCon made it a little easier for me to appreciate because at say Origins, there's 15,000 other people there, right? But I'm talking for the entire duration of the convention to the same 10 people pretty much. Now people will come into the event to play in the event, and they're new people that I might not know, although I do know a lot of them. But you don't have time to socialize. You got let's get going, blah 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 blah. So it was. SDHist was more laid back than that. And I kind of really appreciated that. That I was just able to chat with people and still get to play stuff too. And not be distracted by shopping and things like that. So
I gotta go make it a vacation. But I mean, what kind of a vacation? How much money am I gonna need to vacate in
Fresno? So he's up north. So it's not a trivial drive to get to San Diego from there, but
hey, Ardy, let's say I go to San Diego HistCon and I stick around for a week there. Am I breaking the bank?
So I stayed 3 nights, and I stayed at a Best Western, so it was by no means the most luxurious or expensive hotel in the area. Yeah. And it cost me about $550. So it's about $175 a night. It's cheaper than the Hyatt in Columbus. I can tell you that. But a big part of the reason why that's so expensive is because I'm staying for 6 or 7 days, right, instead of 3 or 4. So on the other hand, you can you could split the room with somebody, but just so you know, Dan, I fart a lot. So at night, a lot.
I mean, I've got this CPAP thing. I sleep naked. You don't want to see me naked.
Oh, fuck no. No, we won't be doing that. There was a balcony, and the hotel was decent. It was nothing wrong with it. I would probably get the slightly closer Ramada next time, though. So, but no, I think it's not a hideously expensive convention to go to. I didn't think so. Oh God,
no, actually,
well, no. I don't buy this at all. They have shopping in the warehouse, don't they? Or is this not weekend at the warehouse that we're talking about? Because on the other hand, I've got almost 200 GMT games already. So I think it's unlikely that I'll get out there, right? Because I'm like overcommitted to conventions already. I go to too many conventions now. So the committing to another West Coast convention, I think, is just not doable. But SD Hist was a wonderful experience. But if I could like shop in the GMT warehouse, I'd find something to buy. I don't know what it would be.
Hold on a second. Charles Latorre, I didn't know there was a Little Italy in San Diego.
A lot of big metropolitan areas have Little Italies.
Oh, yeah, okay, hold on. How many walks went to California as opposed to New York?
I got some relatives out there from the Sicilian side of the family. I can tell you that. They were fishermen in Sicily. They were fishermen in Sicily. They came out here and went to California to be fishermen.
Hey, man.
So they do have the occasional goodie that they found under a cabinet or something at the GMT warehouse too, from what I'm told. So that might not be in print anymore. And there are a few out of print GMT things that I probably would snap up. So I have been to San Francisco, but Cleveland has a storied Little Italy neighborhood with a lot of great restaurants in it, actually.
But I'm wondering, like,
not about a lot of great restaurants, but some great restaurants.
If I go to California, I'm going to stay a little longer to experience California, even though I don't like the sun and the water. It makes me sick. I'd rather be a forest and a river shaded. But anyways,
I heard really good things about that Italian place. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They're quite different in approach. I love Space Empires. I'll buy Microverse too. It's a question of playtime. I mean, Space Empires has many scenarios, so there's a lot of ability to scale it to the time you have available. But Microverse is about 15 minutes per player. So the event itself, Dan, by the way, was held at the Portuguese Cultural Center in San Diego. Yeah, and there's like a little Portuguese market in there where you can buy like these Portuguese custard buns and linguiça and all kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, I'd go for anchovies. Give me some anchovies.
So I like anchovies, not on pizza. Yeah. I don't like anchovies on pizza. I think that's disgusting. Yeah. But I like anchovies. If I order a Caesar salad and I think it's going to be like a good Caesar salad, I will ask for extra anchovies on top.
Have you ever had puttanesca?
I actually haven't.
Anchovies.
But my secret ingredient for pasta sauce is in fact anchovies. So you could. There's a lot of good food options out there. Seafood in particular. That Point Loma seafood is friggin' incredible.
You know,
so this could work. This could work. Oh no, I mean anchovies and fried rice. This could work.
Yes, no, that works. And anchovies on pizza is phenomenal, especially focaccia. And you'd put rosemary and roasted garlic. Oh, Jesus!
Oh yeah. Well, that's not really a pizza, but yeah, I mean, I'll eat anchovies. I'm fine with that. You do want to get the good ones and not the kind that Papa John's uses, for example.
Papa John's. What the hell is that?
Papa John. It's the worst pizza in America, in my opinion.
You make your own pizza.
You can make your own. You could make your own superior pizza out of cardboard and ketchup. And it would be about the same as Papa John's.
That's disgusting. Man, you know what you do? Anchovies, you throw a toast in the oven, comes out, you take a little bit of your tomato sauce you had last night, blah, 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 olive oil, anchovies. Let's go.
Oh, sure. Good snack. Papa John's isn't pizza. No, it is cardboard. I've already said that. So it is cardboard with sauce and a variety of other low-quality ingredients on it. If you get really serious about this, you need the pizza oven too, so you can get to 800-900 degrees, and then you could do really special pizza. You know, I had the Big New Yorker from Pizza Hut not too long ago.
There's a deep dish.
It's the Big New Yorker. It's a quote unquote New York style pizza,
and
it's edible. I mean,
that's disgusting.
It's edible. It's very soggy with grease. It's super greasy. And it's just like, how you get the good New York style pizza where the crust has a little bit of snap to it still? This is not like that. This is just soggy. It's edible, but there you go.
I watched a pizza contest, believe it or not, and they had all these ovens, and they make margarita pizza. How long do you think it takes to cook a margarita pizza in one of those ovens?
3 minutes, maybe.
17 seconds.
It's very fast. I don't know about that, but it's very fast. Yeah.
I'm telling you, 17 seconds. What the hell?
Detroit style pizza is one of my favorite types of pizza. We have a Detroit style pizza chain in Ohio called Jets. It is excellent, and I love it. And if I eat too much of it, I will have issues the following day.
Hold on. No, who mentioned Detroit style pizza?
John Longshore mentioned Detroit.
What's the difference between so what's about Detroit?
Detroit pizza does not use mozzarella or provolone. It uses brick cheese, and it's made in this like high walled pan. It's fairly thick. It's almost like the crust is like a focaccia type crust, but they like load the cheese on it, so you get like all this caramelized cheese around the outside. It's good.
That's good. That's good.
It's good. Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah. There's other styles that use rectangular pans, but this is one of, and they used to be like, they were literally, when they started this tradition, they were literally the old oil pans from the Ford and GM plant.
What?
So, yeah, that's how the pan, I mean, I'm sure they bought new pans since then, but that's where the pans originally came from. So, no, but I love Detroit style pizza. It's one of my favorite styles of pizza, and it's easy to replicate it at home in a cast iron skillet too. Unlike New York style pizza, where you got to have the exact right dough recipe, and your oven's got to get hot enough, and you need specialized equipment and stuff. And even then, it's very hard to get right. New York style pizza is like the hardest style of pizza to get right, in my opinion.
Why would you try to imitate any pizza? Just make your own, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, you could just make a cast iron skillet pizza, and it'll be pretty good. I can't make pizza because my wife has cheese issues, so we can't really have pizza. So yeah, this is it's an issue. Let me put it that way. So anyway, all right, folks, we have done a great deal of meandering this evening, and we did touch on some of the social aspects of wargaming, so I am satisfied. We will be back next week with a very special guest to be determined at a future time. So, Dan?
Hasta la vista, baby.